Hi, I'm Oliver. I'm one of the sound production and DJing tutors for SoundLab. SoundLab is an arts charity based in Glasgow, and we offer free tuition to anyone in a variety of subjects, whether that be songwriting, DJing, production, drumming, singing. It's all there. In this video, I'm going to run through some of the terminologies that you can find in common softwares, music production softwares, across most pieces of hardware and throughout the musical world. Terminologies can sometimes be a little confusing, so hopefully you can come away from this feeling a little bit more clued in as to what people are talking about. For this video, we're going to be using the software Ableton, and our hardware device is going to be the Korg Minilog. There's one extra piece of hardware that's going to link those two things together, and this is called an interface. So for our first terminology, I'm going to explain interface. It's quite simple. The interface provides a bridge or a link between your software, hardware, and output. The next terminology is kind of a two-in-one. I want to talk to you about gain and volume. Simply put, gain is the level of a sound on the way into a device, i.e., for in this example, the Minilog playing into our interface, which then goes to our software to come out of our speaker. The gain should be set before you start playing. Volume is the sound on the way out of a device. In this instance, on our interface, it's known as monitor. So I can play the same sound, and you can see that the gain remains the same while the volume has changed. Now we've spoken about the volume of a sound, we should talk about how a sound is created. With a synthesizer, you can follow what's known as a signal path. The signal path is the generation of the sound to the output of the sound. Minilog's brilliant because it can show you that in a linear fashion along this line here. I'm going to talk to you about a few of the terms associated with that process. With a synthesizer like this one, the sound is generated by what's known as an oscillator. So where it says VCO here, that means voltage controlled oscillator. Simply, an electric current is passed into an electronic component which oscillates or vibrates, creating a tone. That tone can be adjusted in pitch, can be adjusted in shape. So this is called a sine wave, which is a smooth wave. This is a saw wave, which is a rough wave. And this is a square wave, which is a much more digital kind of wave. Once the oscillator has been set, we can then filter. The filter makes a cut in the frequency spectrum. Everything above that cut isn't heard, whereas everything below is. So for example, on this filter turned all the way up, when I play our note, you can hear everything from the highest sound to the lowest sound. As I bring it down, you can only hear the lower sounds, until you can hear nothing at all. Resonance affects where the cut is made by the filter and the volume of the frequency the cut is made at. So that sounds a little complicated, but let me explain. So if I've filtered at roughly 1000 Hertz, the resonance will increase the volume of that cut, creating a more interesting shape when you're playing. The next part of the signal path is what's known as the envelope generator. This can be broken down into 4 letters, A, D, S, R. Attack, decay, sustain, and release. Attack is how quickly the note will be played after the key is struck. For instance, that was immediately. If I switch the attack, if I turn the attack up, it takes a longer period of time for the note to be played audibly. Decay is the amount of time it takes for the note to reach the volume at which it will finish after it's played. For example, The attack has taken effect over that period of time there. The decay then brings it back down to a sustained level before the note stops playing, which leads you to sustain. Sustain is at what volume the note will be held as you play it. And finally, release. Release is how long the note will hold after your finger has left the key. Long release, short release. Okay, so that concludes part 1 of my introduction to the explanation of terms. I hope you found it helpful. I will be back with more videos like this, looking into some of the more deeper aspects of the way in which we can manipulate sounds in synthesis, in software and hardware. If you're interested in anything else that SoundLab do, I really recommend that you follow us on Instagram, on Facebook, on all the social media platforms you can think of.